Hello everyone, I'm Douglas E. Welch. Welcome back to another container garden update. For more information, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. Well, today we're going to talk about propagation. One of the cheapest ways of adding new plants back into your garden is to simply make more of the plants you've already have. I have been planning on doing this for a very long time, and today we're finally going to get started. This will probably mean that this container garden series is going to blend into the In the Garden series over time as we pot up our new propagated plants and then actually move some of those into the garden as well. I have lots of plans for a variety of things here. I'll keep you up to date both with these videos and also with blog posts on the Gardener's Notebook blog. Today what we're going to do is we're going to propagate some rosemary. I have a lovely rosemary bush. It's kind of in a bad area. It's suffering a little bit from not enough sun, and I actually have some ideas of first of all making some rosemary topiaries to go in pots, and then perhaps even propagate enough to make a rosemary hedge along a wall below my kitchen window. So when you're getting started with propagating, it's actually real important to prepare your pots ahead of time. Otherwise, you've got to take your cuttings and make sure they're stuffed in a bag or something so they don't dry out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of my homemade potting soil here. I've got some recycled containers for some plants that I bought a while ago, and I'm simply going to just fill these up. Now notice I've pre-wet the potting soil. Potting soil I found can become hydrophobic, which means it sheds water if it dries out entirely. And so I made a point of actually putting the hose right in the potting soil container, getting it nice and damp. I wouldn't say, you know, super soaked. You can see it's dripping a little bit, but the point is to have the soil prepared ahead of time so that you're ready to put the cuttings right into these pots. So here is my rosemary bush. You can see it doesn't get enough sun on this one side, that's why it's dying out a bit there. So maybe by propagating some of this up, I can actually rejuvenate it a little bit as well. So what you want to do is you want to come to the ends of the plant. You don't want to be digging down in the woody growth at the bottom. You want to be here at the new growth on the top, but something that is still just a bit woody. So right here you'll see a couple good stems. I'm just going to take that off there and just cut. I'm going to cut about, I think about 12 of these. That's the number that I'm thinking in my mind. You're not going to get all of them to root. Some will fail. That's just a natural state of propagation. What do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's get 7 more here. You're looking for things that have kind of like one individual stem that'll go down into the pot nice and securely. Let's see here. That's 8. The wonderful thing about taking cuttings from rosemary, of course, is the wonderful smell you get off of it. I don't use a lot of rosemary in the kitchen. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do sometimes make a rosemary tea out of it, which is supposed to be very good for your digestion. And I have found it to be right up there with mint tea as far as being tasty and calming. You would think it would be a kind of an odd taste, but when you steep it as a tea, it's actually very mellow and very nice. Okay, so there we've got our cuttings, and we're going to take these back over to the bench and I'll show you how to prepare them and put them in the pots. So here are the cuttings I took from my rosemary plant just a few steps away, and we're going to prepare these to go into our prepared pots here. First thing you do is you strip the leaves off the bottom. Hey, maybe we can make dinner with that tonight. You strip the leaves off the bottom. You basically want to have the stem at least as high as the soil when you stick it into the pot like this, so that the leaves don't rot against the soil. The other thing you want to do is you can use your fingernail, your thumbnail like this, or you can use a pair of scissors, or you can use a garden knife. I really need to get one of those. Need to look on Amazon for that. To basically scarify the bark, strip the bark off the stem. Again, you're trying to get these to root, so you want to have as much of the growing part of the stem in contact with the soil as possible. Now, some people will go either way, whether you use rooting hormone powder or not. I've heard people go either way. I happen to have this lying around, so I'm going to use it. And all you do is you just dip the stem in there, kind of tap it off. You can see the rooting hormone attached to it, and then you just stick it right down into the pot. And I'm going to go just a little bit off the bottom. I basically push the stem in until I feel the bottom and then come up just a little bit, and then just poke my finger back in there. We're going to put one of these in each corner of these pots, so we'll have 4 pots with 4 each. So actually I have enough for 16. Maybe I'll actually do 16 now that I have the prepared pots. Here's our next one. Again, this one's kind of double trunked here. I think I'm actually going to take this stem off of here. Again, we go ahead and we strip it back. We scrape the stem. This one's so small I can actually use my thumb on this one here. We go ahead and hit it with the rooting hormone again, tap it off and into the corner. Again, down to the bottom of the pot and then just a little bit up. And here we go. All of our pots. I basically went with 4 in each pot, 1 in each corner. I vaguely remember hearing that you put them against the edges of the pot to give them a little support so they don't flop around too much. So I agreed with that. Eventually what will happen is each one of these, each one that survives, will go into its own pot about this size to start growing a topiary and or to be potted on for my rosemary hedge that I mentioned earlier. In some cases you could cover these with little cloches made out of 2-liter pop bottles or plastic bags. If you use the plastic bags though, you want to put a dowel or a chopstick up in the middle and then make sure the bag is hanging off of the chopstick. You really don't want the leaves of the plants touching the sides of the container where they'll get that moisture on them directly. You're just basically trying to retain moisture in the pots. I'm going to watch these fairly closely, so I'm actually not going to cover this set. I found it didn't make a lot of difference in the previous batch that I did. That's pretty much all for this episode of Container Garden Update. We'll get back to our main vegetable containers next week. I did see some strawberries coming on, and we'll check in on my frugal lettuce project. I believe 2 are surviving and 1 is not, so we'll check in on that next week. For more information, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. Until next time, keep potting up and keep digging. Hello everybody, I'm Douglas E. Welch and Wacom tablet, baby. And cut.